So thank you very much for joining us today in this webinar, Applying to Graduate School in Canada. I'd like to thank our speaker, Abed Yassine. Abed is currently in Canada, still in Canada. He has graduated from AUB with Electrical and Computer Engineering degree, and then moved to University of Toronto, where he pursued his PhD. And he's now working at Cerebras Systems, which is a new company doing innovative AI chip design. So Abed, thank you very much for joining us today, and the floor is yours. You can take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Muhammad, for the introduction. And first, I'd like to thank Kaffi for this opportunity, giving me this opportunity to give this talk today. I've been following what you've been doing, and let me just say what you're doing is really amazing, very helpful, and I really wish, like when I was applying to grad school, I had the opportunity to attend such webinars and get advice from seniors. Yeah. Okay, so hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about different programs in grad school in Canada, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of my experience with when it comes to applications and what to expect from your side in the application process and from the professors and different advisors side. We're going to start by, oops, is it moving? Okay, yeah. So we're going to start by first introducing myself. I think Mohammed did a good job in this, and then we're going to talk what are the different programs offered in Canada and how to choose the right option. We'll discuss what are the application requirements, how to increase your chances of getting accepted, and then what are the funding opportunities while you're pursuing your grad studies. After that, we're going to talk about what type of visa you need after graduation or during your studies in order to do any internship, apply for jobs, etc. At the end, we'll leave it up to you guys to open it for you to ask any questions, and I'll be happy to answer. Okay, so briefly, I'm Abed Yassine. I'm a member of technical staff at Cerebras Systems. I graduated from AUB in 2014 and came to Canada, so I've been living here for around 8 years now. And I did my master's and PhD both in computer engineering at University of Toronto. So in total, I spent around six and a half years at U of T, and while doing my PhD, I had reviewed several of the grad school applications for my supervisor, especially for students coming from our area, because I'm familiar with the schools there, I'm familiar with the criteria that the professor is looking for. So I'll be sharing some of my experiences today. Just to clarify, what I'll be talking about today is applying to graduate school programs in Canada, specifically in the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. To be honest, I'm not familiar with the medical school applications here or the undergraduate programs, so I won't be able to help you if you're looking into that. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me if you have any question about that. I know some people who might be able to help. Okay. So let's first talk about when you should consider applying to grad school. So let's say now you are finishing at the end of your undergrad degree in Lebanon or anywhere else, and you found like a specific topic you like within your major and you want to specialize in, or you like working in research and expand more on the topics that you've learned in your undergrad, or you have a vision of becoming a university professor in your career path in the future. If these are your goals, then definitely you should pursue grad school. Or let's say that your plan was actually to graduate and find a stable job, but due to the economic situation in Lebanon or around the region, now you have to consider some other options. And you found that, okay, I want to move to Canada. How can I? What is the easiest way to move there? If this is your plan, your strategies in grad school should be different. I'll highlight the programs that you might need to pursue in order to make it easier for you to come here. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the timeline and when you should apply and to expect any like the admission notifications. Unfortunately, right now we are in April, so most of the applications for the next fall 2022 are already closed. So I'll be talking as if you're trying to apply for fall 2023. However, some schools offer, they open an application window to join in winter 2023. So that's the winter semester. And the deadline still is not passed yet. So some of these schools will open the application until late July, beginning of August. So I recommend checking carefully each school's website separately, because the deadline from school to school differs. I know from University of Toronto, for example, they only open one round of applications for both the winter and the fall semesters. So, and that's already passed. So you will have to wait for the next round of application that opens in around October. Okay, in any case, let's say that you're trying to apply for fall 2023. You should start preparing your application and all the documents you need by fall 2022, which is next September, October. And this application requires like a CV, a statement of intent, the application forms, reference letters. I'll talk in details about these later on in the presentation. And you should look at the school's requirements if they require any proof of English proficiency, like TOEFL or IELTS exams. If so, you need to give yourself some time in order to sit for this exam and submit the scores. All of these application requirements have to be submitted by the application deadline, so you have to keep in mind this deadline. As I mentioned earlier, the deadline for the fall applications is usually between December and February. So it differs among departments. I know, for example, in the math departments, they close the application around December 15, December 17, right before the holiday season. In engineering, they keep the applications open until late January or beginning of February. In University of Toronto, it's usually around first week of January, January 6th, 7th, something like that. Okay. And remember, all the forms and reference letters, tests, etc., should be submitted by this application deadline. So make sure that you have everything prepared before that date. Once the application window closes, professors start to review applications, and that's especially if you are pursuing a research-based degree. I'll talk about the different degrees later on. And if they like your application and see that you might be a good fit, they will email you, ask you for an interview, and once they interview you, they open for you the chance to ask any questions and also interview them in the process. Okay, let's say that they like you like the professors. They will send you an offer letter by around June if you are applying for the fall semester, or by September if you are applying for the winter semester. And once you accept that offer, the school will send you an official degree. An official offer to sign. Okay. So what are the different the grad school programs that you can apply for in Canada? First, there is the Masters of Engineering program. There are two types of master's degrees. This Master of Engineering is obviously specific for engineering degrees. So if you're not engineering, you will not be able to apply for it. But this is a course-based program. You don't have to do any research. And if your plan was to actually graduate and find a stable job, but now you have to travel, then this is a good degree for you if you don't like research. It's a 1 to 2 years program. You get to choose to do either 9 courses without doing any research or any projects, or you can do 6 courses and a research project with any of the faculty members at the school you join. You don't necessarily need an advisor if you're going to pursue the 9-course-based degree, but if you want to do a research project, you will end up talking to several professors and discuss with them the projects that they are offering and what you can work on. Unfortunately, with this type of degree, funding is usually not available. You have to pay for it. Because there is no salary. You are not working as a research assistant for any advisor. Okay, and you cannot get a research job easily after graduation if that's your goal. But any other type of jobs, it's most likely that you will find a job, especially in Toronto, for example. It's becoming more of a tech hub, and a lot of companies are opening offices here. So a lot of job opportunities are opening up have been opening up in the last 2 to 3 years. Okay, the second type of masters, this applies to all the different fields in the STEM area, and it's called Master of Science, or in engineering we call it Masters of Applied Science. It's a 1.5 to 2 years program. Usually do 5 to 6 courses plus a research thesis. Most advisors will let you finish the course work within the first year, and then you start ramping up on research. It's obviously supervised because you have to do a research, so you cannot join the program unless a professor offers you an admission, not the school. Okay, and funding is almost secured, at least in engineering. In other areas, there are a lot of scholarship opportunities that the university will send you. You can apply to. And I haven't met anyone who hadn't got funding while he's doing his master's, so his or her master's. That's why I'm saying it's almost secure. Okay. With the Master of Science, however, you cannot get into academia if that's your vision. If you want to become a professor, for example, you have to do a PhD later. And it's more demanding than Master of Engineering just because you're doing research and it takes most of your time. Okay, then there is the PhD degree, which is 4 to 7 years program. It's usually a 4 years program, but I say 4 to 7 because it really depends on how much effort you want to put in it, or like what is the pace you want to work on. It's a very demanding degree. Usually do 5 to 6 courses plus a research thesis. Again, the courses you finish them in the first year, and the rest is just research, and you get to do an annual committee meeting to discuss your research progress every year. Okay, funding is also almost secured. The good thing is you can continue in academia if that's your goal, and you can get any research position after graduation in big companies. Okay, disadvantage is obviously it's a longer commitment and more demanding than MS. You have to like research if you want to do PhD. Otherwise, you won't be happy in these 3-4 years. Okay, and it's just about research. No matter how good of a student you are in your courses, A+, whatever, if you don't like research, this PhD is not going to be your thing. There is also the direct PhD, which doesn't need a master's degree. You get to apply directly from your undergrad. It's a 5 to 7 years program, minimum 5 because you haven't done any master's degree before, so supervisors usually tend to keep you more. And you get to do 5 to 8 courses in the first year and a half, and then the rest is just research. The disadvantages is that you will need to commit for a PhD. To a PhD, you are expected to do research and to be treated as a PhD student from day one. It's harder to get into as well. I personally do not recommend a direct PhD program just because PhD needs a lot of commitment, and maybe after 2 years of your master's you discover that research is not your thing or you didn't like it, then that's good. You don't have to waste another 3-4 years doing something you don't like. Okay. Maybe the supervisor is not that great, you discovered that, and you're stuck with them. Okay, the bad thing about Canadian direct PhD is that if you leave in the middle, you won't be awarded a degree, and if you don't get a degree from a Canadian school, then getting a work visa later on is more difficult. Okay. Even if you like research, doing a master's first will open a better PhD opportunities for you somewhere else. Let's say that you want to continue in a certain area that is not offered, and this research area is not offered in your school, in your current school. That's good. Now you get the chance to apply to different to other schools in Canada or in the US or anywhere else you're interested in going to. So what I'm saying is that don't restrict yourself before seeing different options. That's why I don't personally recommend the direct PhD program. Okay. So how to choose the right topic? Now let's say that you chose the program that you want to get into. How to choose the right topic for masters or for Master of Science? The research topic that you want to work on has to be related to what you want to do next after graduation. Think about what type of job you want to land. Like, are you going to land a job in let's say teaching, hardware, software, etc. This will all influence what is the research topic that you'll be interested in getting to improve the skill set in that area. For a PhD, because it is a longer time commitment, make sure that the research topic you choose is something that you want to work for and you're really interested in. As well as align it align this topic with the long-term goals. What type of research you want to do after graduation, for example. If you have a vision of becoming a professor, what is the research that you'll be interested in doing? All this will influence your research areas that you will be working on in your PhD. Even if you're going to industry, this will influence your topics as well. Like, don't work on theoretical things. Try to work on more practical things that the industry appreciate. Okay. Yeah, this is just my 2 cents on the topic. Okay. So how to choose the right school? Canada offers a wide variety of schools in Ontario and Quebec and British Columbia. There are a lot of tier 1, like University of Toronto, McGill, University of British Columbia schools, and some tier 2 schools. I personally recommend not just applying to tier 1 schools. Even if you are like a top student in your class, always have a plan B. Apply to tier 2 schools just to have a safe option in case things don't go well. But don't end up applying to like 10, 20 schools. Remember that the application fees around 120 to 150 CAD. So each school you are applying to, you end up paying this money on top of the money that you have to pay to send your test scores, for example, if they need any tests. So I personally, when I applied for around, I think 5 schools, like 2 tier 1 schools, and the rest were tier 2 schools, just to have any safe options. Okay. If you are applying for a PhD, on top of choosing the right school, you have to choose the right professor. I'll discuss this in a bit. So what do we mean by right professor? A good advisor can make a huge difference on your PhD. Remember that PhD is a long-term commitment. It's a 4 to 5 years commitment. So if you are not happy with your supervisor, it will affect your research outcomes negatively, and you won't like what you're doing. Okay. On top of the school, your name is actually tied to your advisor more so than the university. So whether you end up in a good academic position or a good industry position is highly tied to whom your supervisor is. Whether they are known in the field, whether they are known to have good alumni, and companies know that companies have good experiences with their previous students. This is all tied with your supervisor, not the school. So always keep your goal in mind when choosing the professor. Okay. To choose the right professor, while doing the interview with the professor with any advisor, always remember that it's a two-way process. You can choose the advisor the same way they are choosing you. Don't be shy to ask any questions. I personally found professors in Canada are very friendly. They are very approachable, and they will be happy to answer any questions or concerns you have during the interview process. Okay. Also, reach out to their students, not just the professors themselves, and don't be shy to ask any questions. They will be happy and very honest, completely honest on whether this supervisor is good or bad. I keep getting a lot of questions about my ex-supervisor in my PhD, and I am always happy to answer these questions because I've been through the process. I know how my supervisor works, how my supervisor treats their students, so I can share my experiences.
Abed, okay. Sorry for that. Sorry for the interruption. We can't see you. I'm not sure if it's only me.
Oh, but, okay. Sorry about that.
Now, like it happened a few seconds ago. I'm not sure if it's only my side.
My camera is on. Oh, okay. Let me switch this off and on again. For some reason, it froze. Can you see me now?
No. Anyone in the audience can see? You can raise a thumbs up or something. Can you see the camera?
Yes.
Okay. It's fine. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. It might be an issue on my side. That's fine, Abed. You can keep going. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So on top of looking at the asking the advisors questions, asking their students, also do your research well. Try to look at their Google Scholar profiles, see what type of research they do, read their papers, their publications, what kind of awards they get. And while also skimming through their papers, you can see how they like to work or what is their research philosophy, whether they like to publish with one student only or like they like their students to work in groups. So if working in groups is what you're interested in, you keep that in mind while looking for the right advisor. Okay, look at their alumni, like what kind of jobs they landed afterwards. This will all influence your decision in whether you see this specific advisor is a good fit or not. Okay. So now that we've talked about the different options that Canadian schools offer, let's talk about the application itself and what to expect in terms of preparation, what to expect in terms of funding after if you get accepted, etc., and how to increase your chances as well. Okay, so any Canadian grad school program will require 5 different things: the application forms, the transcript, the CV and a statement of intent, a GRE, TOEFL, or any tests if required, and the reference letters. I'll delve in details for each one of these topics now. So for the application forms, I think most Canadian schools require 2 applications. One on the university level. In this application, you basically create a profile, you submit the official transcript, you submit your test scores, and choose the desired programs, and then pay the fees. In this application, usually the university filters out the students who have not met the minimum requirements for the GPA they needed, the test scores, or any other thing, or any other tests. So this doesn't mean that you'll get accepted if they didn't filter you out. It just means that, okay, you meet the minimum requirements. Now we can send your application to the specific department that you are interested in. And they do this because they get thousands and thousands of applications every year. So and professors usually don't have time to review all of them. So they need to filter them out based on some minimum requirements. Okay. Then there is the department level application. In this application, you submit your CV, your statement of intent, then you choose the desired the research domain that you're interested in and which supervisors you're looking to work with. And then you also submit the reference letters. Keep in mind that both of these applications have to be completed by the deadline, and all of the references, test scores, etc., have to be sent by the deadline. So always prepare in advance and keep in mind when the deadline is to give yourself some room and not to be tight on this application. Okay. And also another note is that for Masters of Science and PhD programs to be admitted, it's not the professor, it's not the university has to accept you, it's the professor. So the professor has to send you first an offer letter. Once you accept that offer letter, the school will send you an official admission letter. Okay, so you will have to do a lot of interviews with different professors in order to see whether you are a good fit for them and whether they are a good fit for you. So what are the minimum GPA required for different programs? It really depends on the program, but in general, as a rule of thumb for Master of Science, a minimum GPA of around mid-B in your bachelor's undergrad degree is required. This is equivalent to around 80 to 85 at AUB or LAU. And for PhD, they need a minimum of B+ in your MSc program. So whether you did your MSc in Lebanon or outside, you have to convert it to like their grade system and see what is a B+ is equivalent to. For a direct PhD program, it is harder to get into. This is because students haven't had the chance to do any research first, so the supervisors want to what they look for. They look for high quality students or like very good students. So the minimum GPA for this is A- usually in your bachelor's degree. Okay, then comes the during the department level application, you have to submit a statement of intent. So what is a statement of intent? It's an opportunity for the applicant basically to explain why they are applying to the program they are applying to, and discuss their academic and research interests, what their qualifications are, why they see that they are a good fit for this program, and they can write about their activities or any experience that might be relevant to this program. This will give the professors who are reviewing your application the chance to see to get to know you more before even interviewing you. It's also a way for them to filter out applications. So you have to spend a lot. I usually spend a lot of time on this, writing it carefully, revising it, asking my seniors, any senior students to review it and give me any comments, because it has to be well written. It has to be direct to the point. Why you are applying to this? Why you are applying with this professor specifically? So yeah, keep this in mind. Regarding the tests, the top two tests I usually see in grad schools are the GRE and the TOEFL, especially GRE, especially for the STEM field. But the fortunate thing is that most Canadian schools will not require a GRE. However, some do, so don't quote me on this. So make sure to check the program's website well in advance of the application to see if they require a GRE, because if they do, you have to give yourself some time to sit for this exam and send the scores right before the deadline. On the other hand, most graduate programs will require a TOEFL test as a proof of English proficiency for those who are coming from Lebanon. And the minimum test score needed ranges usually between 93 and 100. It really depends on the program that you're applying to. And they need at least 22 on speaking. This is overall, this is over 120. And I found that it's not that difficult to get the 93 if you're coming from a school where the language of instruction is English. Actually, some schools in Canada can waive this requirement if their language of instruction is English. This is applicable to AUB and LAU, for example. But again, better check the program's requirements first. I know in University of Toronto they won't waive this requirement. In any case, it's better to do this TOEFL exam because you will end up applying to several schools and some of them won't waive it. So better safe and just do it well in advance of the application deadline. Okay. Then the reference letters. This is also a very good opportunity for the professors to look at the applicant's qualification. You will need to submit at least 2 references, especially if you are applying for a research-based program. You'll need to apply for at least 2 references within your application. You basically fill in the reference name and email. The department will send them an email to fill in their reference. Okay. Make sure that you choose the right references, and the way to do this is choose someone that that knows you very well and knows the work you've done or any research experience you've done. Choose someone that you've worked with before, preferably in research. Like if you are an undergrad still and you've done some research work with any faculty member, this is definitely a good reference for you. Okay. Maybe you can choose someone who already graduated from the same school you are trying to get into, and he knows you or they know you. That's also a good reference. They can give you a good recommendation. Okay. Or also a good reference can be someone who has a direct connection with the faculty member or the professor that you're interested in working with. Okay, so let's say that you're in your undergrad school, there is a Professor X who knows Professor Y at the school you are trying to get into, and you have already done some work with Professor X. Definitely, this is the top choice for a good recommendation letter, because they will give you they can give you a direct connection to them. Okay. Remember, this also, the reference letters have to be submitted by the application deadline, but usually recommenders are very busy. So give them some time and always remind them that the deadline is approaching. Be ready to prepare a draft. Some professor will ask you to, okay, write a draft for me. I'll go over it, fix it, and then submit it. Yeah. So this is regarding the application requirements. Now that you've submitted the application, you're not done. There is actually more work still to be done. And now we need to do some work to increase our chances of getting accepted into the program that we are interested in. Remember that what I've said earlier, that in many cases, applications are skimmed through. So they usually look at the minimum requirements, filter them out, then whatever left, they just skim through the statement of intent and like the CVs. So sometimes you don't get a chance to do the interview. So try to do things that make you stand for the professors that are reviewing applications. And one way to do this is that if you know a connection, ask them for more than a reference. Ask them for a short direct email to the professor that you're interested in working with. This way of electronic introduction can help you minds into actually just getting a chance to talk to the professor. Even if they didn't see that you are a good fit, now they know your name, and they might recommend you to other professors in the department. Okay, if you know a senior in your current undergrad who's already a student in that school you are applying to, this is also a good way to ask them for a direct contact to the professors that you're interested in. They won't lose anything. You won't lose anything. They will be happy to do it. Okay. One good way also is summer internships. In your senior year in your undergrad, try to go for an internship in that professor's lab that you're interested in working with later on. If you can afford it, go volunteer for them. It's definitely worth it. And if you've done a very good job with them and impressed them, they will be happy to get you as a master's student once you graduate. I'm speaking about this from my personal experience. When I was an undergrad at AUB, I spent the summer here at University of Toronto with my master's with this professor who ended up my master's supervisor later on. So this is a very good opportunity for you to get into grad school later on. Okay, and what is common about these three points I talked about is that all of them talk about direct connection with the professor that you are applying for. So the direct remember that this professor is either gonna take you as a student, or they will most likely not see you again. So you have nothing to lose. Don't be shy to email, send them an email, and introduce yourself. It shouldn't be generic. Attach your CVs, talk about your qualifications, why you are interested in working with them. The best way to do this is go over some of their research paper, for example, and try to understand them well and talk about them. This will actually impress the professor that you've emailed, and they will see that you've put in the work and effort. So it's a very good sign. What's going to happen is one of these three things. They either won't reply to you. So what? You lost nothing. at least now they saw your name. They will reply to you mentioning that unfortunately, they don't have an open position in their group. But if they see that you are a good fit, they might introduce you to some other professors in the department. So that's a good sign. Or they will be, they will reply to you that they are interested and they want to discuss more, and they start the interview process. Okay, that's perfect. Actually, it happened with me in my master's degree. I was applying also for other PhD programs. I wanted to change the topic that I'm working on. So I sent my PhD professor an email, actually, and he was busy at that time. He didn't have time to reply to look at this email. So I ended up going to his office. I actually just went, knocked on the door. I had nothing to lose. I'm just interested in joining his group. Okay. I told him, my name is Abed Yassine. I sent you an email. He's like, oh yes, I was going to reply to you, but I've been busy. And I ended up interviewing. He ended up interviewing me on the spot, at that moment. The next day, he talked to some of my students just to get a sense of how my group works, and that also gave me a chance to ask them the questions that I wanted to know about my supervisor. A week later, he sent me an offer. So again, you have nothing to lose. They will either reply to you or not. Just go for it. Don't be shy. Okay. There are also other ways to increase your chances other than just directly contacting the professors. In your undergrad or in your current master program, if you are applying for a PhD, try to publish. This is important also for PhD programs. Even if you haven't published, try to go to conferences and talk to professors in your domain. Even if they are not professors that you are interested in working with, they might know people in the schools that you are applying to, and they can introduce you. Okay, if they see that you actually a good fit for this research area. Okay. Another way is to mention the names of the professors you are interested in working with in the statement of intent itself. But make sure to specify why you are interested in working with these professors specifically. This will give the department actually a chance to forward your application to these specific professors immediately. Okay, so let's say that you've applied, you've got to do the interviews, you got an admission letter. That's good, perfect. Let's talk about the funding. I mentioned earlier, if you're applying for a course-based degree like the Master of Engineering, unfortunately, there is no funding usually, and you will have to pay for it. But for a Masters of Science and PhD, it's most likely that you will get a funding. Engineering, it's almost guaranteed. Actually, the university will send you the admission offer along with the funding offer that you will get. Okay. For other STEM areas, it might not be guaranteed, but the university will send you a list of scholarships that you can apply to well in advance of joining. And yeah, in most cases, it's easy to get at least in one of them. For PhD, no matter what the program is, it's almost guaranteed that you will have funding. This funding usually covers the tuition fee for the program that you're joining and the basic monthly salary to cover your living expenses. Okay. Some professors actually are generous and pay more than the minimum guaranteed funding. So when you reach out to the professor students during the interview process, don't be shy of asking them questions like, how do the professors treat their students? Is the salary enough for to live in a to live well in Canada or Toronto, wherever you'll end up going to? Okay. If you need some extra cash while doing your graduate degree, you can work as a teaching assistant for any course in either your department or other departments. Each department usually opens a separate application for this. You can apply to multiple departments and multiple courses within the same department. It's also a good opportunity if you like teaching. I myself like teaching. I did a lot of TAs, although I didn't need the extra cash. I just wanted to do it for teaching. It's usually recommended to do two courses per semester in order to give yourself some time to do the research. Doing a TA is actually not an easy job. You will end up doing a lot of work, so keep that in mind. But you can do more than 2. In one semester, I actually did 4, but that didn't allow me to do any research, so don't do that. Okay, what about internships and part-time jobs or jobs after you graduate? Are there any opportunities in Canada regarding this? I want to say yes and no. We'll talk about this in detail. Just a few tips before going into this. Before even thinking about doing an internship or a part-time job, finish all your coursework in the first year, especially if you are into a research-based program. Graduate courses are very heavy and they need a lot of time. You won't have the time to do anything else on the side. Actually, most professors will leave you to do the courses in the first year. You won't touch any research topic then. Once the courses are done, then you can start ramping up on your research topic. Once that is done, then you can start thinking of taking a semester off to do an internship or going to do doing any part-time jobs along with your degree. Most professors won't mind, but make sure that to ask the professor about this, their philosophy on this topic regarding internships during the interview process. They will answer you honestly if they don't allow their students. And from experience, I think most professors will allow you to do an internship. In my PhD, I actually left for a semester. I went to the US, I did an internship, and then came back. For international students, the difficult thing about doing an internship as an international student is that you will need another type of visa. It's called a co-op visa, and it's usually not guaranteed unless this internship is part of your program. So if you can work it out with your advisor or the program that you're joining, that this internship will be part of your program, then you can get this visa and do the internship. However, if you're doing the internship outside Canada, then yeah, it's very easy just to get a leave of absence from your degree and then come back. What about part-time jobs? A student visa or a student permit in Canada allows you actually to work full-time on campus, basically doing teaching assistance, or you can work up to 20 hours per week off campus. This might not be enough for a full-time internship, but it's good if you are looking for part-time jobs. Even in your field, I know a lot of my friends who've done that during their PhD. They are still working as part-time job for Intel and some of the big companies actually. Okay, so let's talk about after graduation. What to expect in terms of visa? Can you stay in Canada? What type of jobs can you land? Okay. The good thing about the Canadian system is once you graduate from a Canadian school, you will be eligible to apply for what we call a postgraduate work permit or a PGWP. This permit is a 3-year open work permit. You don't need any sponsorship from any company. You will most likely get it if you graduate from a Canadian school. And it allows you to stay in Canada for these 3 years and find a job. If you are lucky and find a job and work for at least a year, you will be eligible to apply for permanent residency in Canada. Afterwards, you don't have to worry about your status. You're almost guaranteed to stay. Sorry, my phone is ringing. Yeah. What about jobs? The good thing about Canada and Toronto specifically is that it's becoming more of a tech hub recently. I've noticed that a lot of big companies are opening their new offices here and with this, a lot of job opportunities are opening. The company I'm working for example, it's based in the US. It's still a startup, but 2 years ago they took the decision to open an office in Canada, and yeah, we keep hiring. It's growing very fast. We're like a lot of job opportunities are opening up. So if you are in a STEM field, it's most likely that you will end up finding a job in Canada. So you don't have to worry about this that much. Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope that I was able to give some tips. Now I'll open for you guys to ask any questions. I'll be happy to answer. If not, I've already prepared also some frequently asked questions that I can go over. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Abed. That was a great talk. Thanks for all the information. What I'll do is I will allow the mic for everyone on the call. So if you have a question, okay, give me a second. We are having a small issue with Teams. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay. I will. So everyone on this call can unmute themselves and ask questions directly. So please feel free to do that.
Yes, Anis, go ahead.
First, thank you so much for this very nice presentation. I can totally relate for many things that I made mistakes in my applications now for like the masters and such. So I have a question. So I have been checking now that, for example, the University of Waterloo is opening their application deadline is still not over yet for the winter term, not the fall one. So it's still open for the winter term for the Master of Science, I believe. Do you think, should I try to apply now or just wait till next year, or it will not make a difference?
Okay, my honest opinion is to wait. The reason behind that is especially for research-based programs, professors usually have like this funding quota within this year, and they usually cover it within the fall application. It doesn't hurt to actually directly email the professors you're interested to work with and ask them if they still have any opening positions. If yes, then go ahead and apply. But from my experience with a lot of students, or at least from my supervisor, he likes to admit students starting from the fall, just because they get to do the courses from September until May and then start to ramp up on research afterwards. So it's harder to get into the winter program. I would advise to wait, but again, it's up to you. Email the professor directly and ask them. You're not gonna lose anything.
Thank you so much. That's very, very helpful, to be honest. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
Any other questions? I think there was a question probably related to GPA in the chat.
Yeah, I see it now on a scale of 4.0. Okay.
I'm not sure at what point was it asked. But
yeah, I was talking about the minimum. Yeah, go ahead, Anis.
Yeah, it was like the B plus. It was the B plus like range. I'm not really sure exactly what maps to the 4.0 over 100. Yeah.
So a B plus is usually around 80 to 85 over 100. So on a scale of 4, this is usually around 3.75, 3.8, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
If not, I can go over the list of questions I prepared.
Yes, please. Yeah. If anyone has the question, they can ask at any point.
Okay. So, yeah, this is some of the frequently asked questions. Usually, I'd be interested to know if I'm applying to grad school. How to know the personality, the work style of the advisor. I've already touched base on this. Basically, reach out to their students. They will be happy and very honest with you. Ask them any questions and don't be shy. This is like the best way I can think of. I've done that in the past, and a lot of people also emailed me in the past, and I was very honest. Yeah, oops, why is this coming this after this? Okay, how complicated is the visa process? If for the student visa, all you need is an admission offer from the school, and you have to pay for the visa fee and fill in the application form for the visa. If everything looks good, and if you are in a research-based program and you have funding, that means you have a proof of funds for your stay in Canada. It's easy to get that visa. It usually takes around a month to 2 months to get it. So prepare for that in advance for your arrival, well in advance of your arrival date in Canada. Okay. Is student funding enough for me to live? I want to say yes. Usually schools offer a minimum funding requirement by the professors, and if the professor only pays you the minimum, you will end up needing to live with a roommate or something. But it's you will the standard of living is okay here, and the salary is enough for you to live freely. I'm not saying it's a luxurious lifestyle; it's a graduate student lifestyle, but yeah, you will survive. Don't worry. If you're interested, if you want extra cash, you always have the chance to do TAs. And also, as I mentioned this earlier, a lot of professors are actually very generous and tend to pay more than the minimum funding. So if this is something you're worried about, just feel free to ask to ask the professor directly about this before you join. Actually, it happened with me once. Like when I applied to my PhD, I was with my master supervisor. My master supervisor was also generous. He tended to pay more than other professors in the department. So I told my PhD supervisor before I joined them that this is my current salary. He's like, don't worry, I'll match it. So yeah, just ask them. How long is a PhD in Canada? So the minimum requirement is 4 years. If you are an exceptional student, I know a friend of mine finished it in 3.5. If you are willing to put in the effort and work at a fast pace, some students tend to chill and relax, so it end up taking 6.5 years. But the average PhD length in Canada is, I would say, around 5 years. Yeah. So what happens if I want to quit my PhD or a master's degree program in the middle? That's unfortunate. Well, because to get the PGWP or the postgraduate work permit that I've talked about earlier, you have to have a Canadian degree or from any Canadian school. And if you quit in the middle of your PhD or a master's degree, you won't be awarded obviously any degree. So it's harder to get it's actually impossible to get the postgraduate work permit. So your options is either to have landed a job already with any company that can sponsor you and give you what we call a closed work permit, okay? Or you will have to leave Canada immediately after quitting. So yeah, you should keep this in mind. How demanding is grad school in Canada? I think grad school anywhere, not just in Canada, is very demanding. It's very different. It's a very different lifestyle from undergrad. I'll talk from my experience. In my undergrad, I used to work at the deadline. I finish all the assignments at the deadline. But I learned in grad school you cannot do that. You will have to work well in advance. Some courses that I took, their assignments took around 3 weeks to finish actually, and it's a lot of work. Research as well. On top of that, you have to like research. It's very demanding. You have to put in a lot of work. And can I get a job easily? I also touched base on that. Canada and Toronto in specific are becoming a tech hub here. So it's most likely you will get a job. I don't want to say it's guaranteed, but it's most likely. I think these are the questions that I had.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Abed.
Yeah, anytime.
Any follow-up questions from anyone on the call? Okay. Thank you very much for all the information, Abed. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for everyone who joined us today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, this was very good opportunity for me and for everyone to hear about different opportunities in Canada. I hope I was actually helpful. So
yeah, this is really very helpful. We've noticed that we are having a lot of people checking these videos on our YouTube channel now. So, and we'll keep this as a reference for people to check. As I mentioned, this will be recorded. It will be on our website if you want to get back to it. We've already covered other countries as well. We've already had videos for US, France, Germany, Italy, and they are available on our website. If you have any questions that we can help with in advising, please reach out to us at Kaffi. Our email is contact@kaffi-lb.org. And or you can just reach out to us on our social media accounts. If you have any other questions related to other programs also, please reach out to us. One very small note is that since we have a lot of funding opportunity in Canada, we are still not sure if we can provide Kaffi scholarships in Canada at this point. So that's something we are still considering. But as Abed outlined here and discussed in detail, there are a lot of opportunities to get scholarships and get funding in Canada, like the case in the US. So that will be a very good opportunity for people applying to Canada. So with that being said, thank you very much for joining us today. And feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks, Abed, again. It was a pleasure having you today.
Anytime. Thank you. Yeah. Have a good day, everyone.